Well, hello, friends, and welcome to episode 218 of the Laravel News podcast. Today is July 2nd, 2024, and the episode is sponsored by Sentry because your code breaks, so fix it faster. With Sentry, application monitoring software is considered not bad by 4 million developers, and Michael happens to be wearing his Sentry beanie. Michael, how's it going, dude? It must be pretty cold there. I heard you said it was 1.5 degrees, which in our Meetup temperature scale you said is 34 degrees.
So
just north of freezing.
Yeah, it was 1.5 I think, or 1.2 when I went for my morning walk, which was a bit crisp. 1.2, and the feels like temperature was minus 0.8. So
see, when we hit negatives, we know it's actually really cold, because negatives is like 32 for us is 0 in Celsius. So if we're in negatives, that means we're 32 Fahrenheit temperature, units below freezing. And then if we're in the negatives, it's like, okay, yeah, it's really freaking cold.
Yeah. Look,
so it's
either way you look at it, it's too cold.
Yes, it's too cold. It's too cold. And so hope is coming, my friend. Hope is coming. You guys are in the dead of winter. We are in the center, the very middle of summer, with July 4th right around the corner. It is the 2nd today, 3rd tomorrow, and 4th following. So all of you who are in America, happy 4th of July. You'll probably be hearing this right around then. So we've got a good show ahead of us. Should we jump right into the releases?
Jump in.
Let's do it. All right, Laravel 11.12 this week, which was June 26th, the Laravel team released version 11.12, which includes a multiply collection method, automatically chopping the PHP extension in make commands, and more. So let's talk about that chop PHP extension when passed to the make command. So this is version 11.11.1. Our good friend, the Laravel garbage man, JMac himself, Jason McCreary, contributed a nice developer experience feature when passing .php to a make command. So you think like make model, make factory, make test, whatever. So these make commands for generating files like controllers or events commands, etc. Nothing changes in this except for that Laravel now handles the PHP extension behind the scenes. So if you say PHP artisan make controller user controller.php, which you can do on accident sometimes. It's painful when you accidentally do this because you either have to move the files or delete them and recreate everything. It's not clear if the command will take care of chopping the extension when typing. So this is a nice touch to fix that little pain point there. So thank you, Jason. Thanks, JMac, for working on that one. Patrick O'Meara contributed a multiply method to collections, which multiplies the items in the collection. So it works by multiplying the existing values on the collection X number of times. So you have a collection of 2 users, right? 2 users that have been cast to arrays, user models that have been cast to arrays. So you have a collection of, this user model, which is like got a name and an email, and there's 2 of them there. If you say multiply 2, it will basically take that version of what you have in there and then replicate it again. It'll duplicate that a second time. That could be a little bit confusing. And so if it is, we thankfully have a YouTube video created by our fearless leader, Mr. Eric Barnes, on how you can use the multiply method. It's a quick little video. It's only a minute 38, and it's a good one. So you should go check that out. Jascha, Jascha, at Jascha on GitHub, contributed an add event discovery paths method to the event service provider. This is in the case that you need to add additional event discovery paths dynamically. So if you store those events in other locations and you want Laravel, the framework, to automatically pick those up, you can use this, add event discovery paths, and then pass that path or multiple paths in there. This isn't typically needed, but if you do need it, it's now available for you. That's it for 11.12. You can find the full diff in GitHub, of course, and the release notes are directly from the changelog. You can find those in the show notes. Thanks very much for writing that one up, Mr. Paul Redman, everyone's favorite human.
For those of you listening along or watching on the YouTube channel, we talk about the highlights of these releases. So, 1, 2, 3 different things. If you look at the release notes, there was a lot of stuff that went into this release. More than what we have time to talk about. Some things are little bug fixes. Some of these were also fixes backported to Laravel 10 as well. So don't be fooled by thinking that we only speak about 3 or 4 things in a release, that's all that's happening in a release. So we do encourage you to check out the show notes and see what else is going on in the framework, because there's always a lot of activity. All right, the news. The June 2024 Laravel Worldwide Meetup happened a couple of weeks ago, or last week, I think the 24th of June, and it featured Katarina Trajewska and Philippe Flore. Katarina spoke about enhancing team performance by improving developer experience, whilst Felipe spoke about elevating your Laravel tests with fluent assertions. The worldwide meetup, unfortunately, given the spread of time zones, never works out nicely for me down under here and all of my Australian colleagues, but they're all recorded if you can't catch them live, and you can watch them at any time. We'll have a link to that for you in the show notes. If you want to learn more about upcoming events, or if you want to propose a talk for a future meetup, you can visit the official worldwide meetup page at meetup.laravel.com.
Very good. Well, we have, speaking of Sentry being the code error solution, your error tracking service, and so much more. Sentry is also committed to education in the community. And so what they've got coming up on July 16th is a discussion with different backend experts. And so if you join, you're going to be able to hear these different experts chat through latest trends, technologies, and what's next for backend developers. So the speaker lineup includes Taylor Otwell, our very own Taylor Otwell, CEO and founder of Laravel, Paul Copplestone, who's the founder of Supabase, Soren Schmidt, who is the CEO of Prisma, Yagiz Nispli, who is the Node TSC member at Node and at Sentry, and then Sarah Guthals, who is the head of developer relations at Sentry. So some of the Sentry team there, some founders and some CEOs on the list there. And the topics that are going to be covered are future trends in backend frameworks and databases. So what's going to be coming up? What's around the corner? What do these leaders in this space see as the next thing that we need to be watching for? The impact of APIs on software development. So what's the best way to use those? How do those impact our development? And then also best practices for scalable and secure databases, which is what I'm actually really interested to hear about. And then lastly, the influence of AI on backend development. So there's more details, and you can sign up by visiting sentry.io/resources/behind the scenes, I think is what it is. Behind the scenes roundtable, RSVP, something like that. We'll have it in the show notes for you to take a look at. But again, that's going to be on July 16th, 2024 at 11 a.m. Central Time. It is free to attend. You just have to sign up. So should be pretty good.
Nice. In the meantime, when your code breaks, you can fix it faster using Sentry. And as Jake mentioned at the top of the show, it's application monitoring software considered not bad by 4 million developers. It will help you to identify, debug, and resolve bugs, prioritizing what matters. It will help you to find the root cause of those problems, including who introduced it and in what commit. It allows you to automate everything, keeping your entire team informed with custom alerts in Slack, two-way sync issues with Jira, and tracking releases from GitHub, Vercel, or Netlify. But you don't have to just observe what happens. You can take action. Find and fix the problem no matter where it occurs. If you use the promo code Laravel News, you will get 2 months free with our friends at Sentry, which you can check out at sentry.io.
Truly, friends, I cannot tell you how amazing Sentry has been in my life as a developer. I know that sounds like a really big oversell here, but honestly, I'm not kidding. Some of the things that they do that are in addition to just the error tracking that was mentioned is it's really nice to be able to see who the last developer that worked on this piece of code is. So I don't have to go digging around in blames. I just can see in Sentry, hey, the last person to mess with this was Wilbur Powery or Jimmy or whoever, right? And then I can assign an issue directly to them. It integrates with GitHub, so I can just create an issue directly from the Sentry error and then directly assign it to that person and say, hey, by the way, when you worked on this last, you broke something. Go fix this, please, which is so nice. So love that aspect and so many other pieces of Sentry. And there's also like first-party integration now with Laravel Forge. So there's never been a better time to try Sentry out. Laravel News is the promo code. Go check it out. SQLite Studio is a SQLite database explorer. SQLite's been getting a lot of love these days, right? SQLite is like the default database in Laravel now. If you spin up a new Laravel 11 project, it's going to use SQLite by default. The database for your tests is going to be a SQLite in-memory database now. on Laravel. And then also there's this course that Aaron Francis is working on, which is like supercharged SQLite or something like that, right?
High performance
So
SQLite, yeah.
high
Just
performance
came out.
SQLite.
Just came out last
Just
week.
came out. So it should be good. You should definitely check that out. But SQLite seems to be cropping up everywhere. And so when that's the case, there is a host of database GUIs that support SQLite now. There's production services like Terso, which helps to use SQLite in production, and there's a lot of prominent community developers promoting it. I typically use Table Plus, and that is a solid option. It continues to be for managing SQLite databases. You can do that. There are other options like PHP Storm. There's some JetBrain projects like DataGrip. Allows you to be able to see this as well. But SQLite Studio is another option. It doesn't necessarily compete with those other GUI tools. It's just a single file binary, which is sometimes exactly what you're looking for, right? You don't want this really heavyweight thing. You just want a single thing that does exactly what's printed on the tin, as my Aussie friends would say. So it's a single command, a SQLite database explorer. Here are some of the features. You have an overview page with common metadata that you'd want to see for a high-level view of the database. You have a tables page with each table's metadata, including the disk size being used by each table. You can infinite scroll rows view, so you don't have to click the arrow over. You get 300 and then you page and then over. It has an infinite scroll view, which is nice. There's a custom query page, gives you more access to your database, and then you can connect to a local SQLite database, a remote libsql server or Postgres server as well. Paul talks about his favorite feature here being that infinite scroll view, and also the responsive updates as you write your SQL queries in the queries tab. So it'll actually start to query before you're even finished with your query. So you start writing it and it'll give you results as you're writing your query, which is pretty cool. So yeah, some really, really cool stuff in there. The technology behind it looks fantastic. You use Rust for the back end, TypeScript, React, Tailwind and Vite for the UI. So if you want to see a live version of it, you can check out the SQLite Studio sample DB, and the CLI is open source, and it's on GitHub at Frectons/SQLite Studio. Of course, you can just find the show notes episode. You can find this all in the show notes for this episode as well. So thanks, Paul Redman.
Nice. The Binify Laravel cart package adds the ability to add shopping cart functionality to Laravel applications. It simplifies storing and managing cart items and supports storing multiple item types and more. It features secure cart information storage and management, support for multiple payment gateways, recurring payment and subscription management, robust validation and error handling, and it is highly customizable and provides you with a flexible architecture. There are some examples about retrieving cart items for given users and adding them to the cart, which you can check out in the show notes. We'll link to that without trying to read through it, but it is, as you would expect in any good Laravel package, with a fluent interface and looks basically like using an Eloquent model. The package also allows you to store multiple items in the cart, and the cart items are polymorphic modeled associations, so you can access underlying model associated with the cart item using the itemable method. You can learn more about the package and get full installation instructions and view the source code on GitHub. So thank you very much to the team at Binify. It's written in such a way that it could go either way, but links will be in the show notes for you.
Nice. Okay. Well, I have to put a little disclaimer on this because typically we have in our packages section of our show all things that are free. So this is not a sponsor read, but the author, Paul Redmond, again, deemed this worthy of something that was worth putting up here that's not a sponsor read. So we're going to talk about it here, right? So what this is this is a table builder for Eloquent models while using Inertia. So Inertia, as you may or may not know, you probably do, is Jonathan Rennick's take on how to integrate your Laravel application with a SPA front end, right? It doesn't necessarily only have to be Vue. I think there's Svelte and React plugins as well for it. But that's what Inertia is. And so this Inertia table is the ultimate table for Inertia.js with built-in query builder support and a suite of other things. So you remember back in the day when we had data tables, right? Bootstrap and data tables. It was like a marriage made in heaven, right? It was just awesome. You could just throw it on any page, had filtering, had sorting, all that stuff. Like right out of the box, and you were able to be so productive with it really quickly. That's kind of what I'm getting from this one, is that it's supposed to just be like a drop-in item that provides sorting, including support for related models, pagination with a customizable number of items per page, toggleable columns, which I've had to build before, and that is a pain in the neck, I promise you. Search with support for related models, extensive filtering options by text, by date, by Boolean, by sets. There's row links, actions, and bulk actions. The ability to export to CSV or Excel or PDF, dark mode support, inline tables, and lots more. So, really, really great package. It's created by a guy named Pascal Baljet, and it uses Laravel, Vue, and Tailwind. So again, it's one of those things where it's like, if you need it, you just need it, and you know you do.
Mhm.
And so
Yeah.
one of those things that is just going to make your life so much better. And some people really get hung up on these price tags, and I'm going to say it isn't inexpensive. It looks like it's about 179 euros at the time of this writing, but it is just a one-time payment, right? It's that's it. You pay for it once, you get access to the Inertia table source code, no hidden fees, no subscription. You pay for it once and you're done. So Paul goes through here and just basically says, here's a quick demo of how you could use it. Of course, you can find all that in the README for it as well. But at the time of the writing, the package requires MySQLite or Postgres or SQLite 3, and then Tailwind CSS 3.4 or higher, and Vue 3.4 or higher. And there's also a React version in the works as well. And then you can see a table demo as well. So table-demo.inertiaui.com. And so it looks pretty cool. And again, it's one of those things like, if you know you need it, you know you need it. And hopefully this is helpful to some of you out there who are using Inertia and looking for something like this. Good luck.
Yeah. Super useful if you don't want to put time into it yourself.
For sure.
Either in like your day job, or if you're at an agency, like being able to build this stuff out readily and easily. 180 euro seems like a lot if you're on your own, but if you're in a company, like, just stuff that in the cost of one contract, and it's
correct,
done and dusted.
Well worth it. Well worth
180 euro for a year of updates. Use it wherever. Sounds pretty reasonable to me. So
I agree.
If that's something you need. All right. Next up here, Tony Lee has put together an article for us for a package that he, as Dev Dojo, if you've never been there, check that out. It's screencasting and community and all kinds of stuff like that. This is Auth screens for your Laravel apps. If you are managing multiple Laravel applications, you can find this challenging, especially when it comes to modifying each app individually. For instance, if you wanted to add social authentication or change the user login process, you would find yourself changing the functionality in several places. Wouldn't it be more efficient if your authentication functionality was centralized? Imagine simply flipping a switch when you need a new feature or you need to incorporate a new social provider. That's exactly why Tony created DevDojo Auth. It is a free and open source project that provides you with customizable authentication pages for your Laravel applications, and it is compatible with any Laravel application from version 10 and above, and any of the available starter kits. So it's installed from a Composer package. It's got some migrations to run. You extend the DevDojo Auth user model, and that's all you need to do to begin onboarding users. But if you want to customize the pages with your own colors and logos, there is more information. So it allows full setup and customization. It provides login, registration, email verification, password confirmation, password resets, and two-factor challenge pages. And it allows you to simply add social authorization, social authentication. This is done by obtaining the client ID and secret for each provider that you wish to include, and then go to the social providers page on the setup screen of the package to activate the desired providers. So if you want to use Facebook, LinkedIn, GitHub, Bitbucket, Apple, Pinterest, TikTok, Twitter, Google, GitLab, Slack, Microsoft, Reddit, or Twitch, these are all ready to go. And you just turn on, and it'll provide the options on the login or registration pages to continue with any of those providers. There are many other features that you can take advantage of with the package, one of which is the GitHub action workflows. You can publish CI files to your application and have them run every time a new PR is opened. The package ships with pest and dust tests to make sure authentication is fully operational at all times. So definitely check out the DevDojo Auth official documentation to learn more. shout out to Tony. He works his tail off putting together
Yes, he does.
not only
Yeah, he
paid
does.
content, not only videos, but so much of this free open source stuff. And it is always of a very high quality. So definitely check that out. Shout out to Tony. You're doing some great work for the community.
Agreed. Absolutely. Okay. Well, folks, that brings us to the last section here, which is tutorials. So as you know, with the tutorials, we sort of are going to give you a little taste here and then send you on your way to go check that out if it seems like something that you would like to explore. So Paul Redmond wrote up this one talking about running a single test, skipping tests, and other tips and tricks. So Nuno recently shared the only method that you can attach to tests with Pest PHP. And what this does is it allows you to run just that single test. So Paul's statement here is, I love targeted ways to run and rerun tests efficiently. And this helper sparked an idea to collect the various ways to filter, skip, and then target tests in PHP. So there's a lot of ways to do it. If you're using Pest, only is great, right? But there are a lot of other ways that you can do this in PHP Unit, or I know in my editor of choice, PHP Storm, there's a great little shortcut. If I'm focused inside of this one particular test, I can just run like Control-Shift-R and it runs that test, right?
Mm-hmm.
Really helpful to speed up the feedback loop for if I'm trying to just test and drive out the functionality of one particular class, right? I'm just trying to test this one thing. Don't really need to run 10 tests. I just need to run this one, or I only want to run the tests in this class. How do I do that quickly? That's what we're talking about here, right? So the post is not exhaustive, but it hopes to cover the most important techniques for both PHP Unit and Pest. So it's not specific to Pest here. It really applies to both. So he talks about the only method to start out with, and here's how you can use it. And then he jumps into filtering tests. So what are the ways that you can filter tests? And it starts with Pest and says, like, you can start with only the ones that are dirty. You can say bail. You can retry the ones that are failing until they pass. A lot of different options there. And then he talks about how can I skip tests, or how can I run tests for a specific PHP or operating system version, which is interesting. And this is one I'll probably come back and look into. But you can use PHP attributes in order to specify what different operating system or what version of PHP you should be running when you're running this test. So really cool stuff. And then as well as jumping into different ways you can run tests inside of your editors, both inside of PHP Storm, as well as inside of Sublime, if that's your thing as well. And I know there's some stuff for VS Code as well. Like we said, this isn't exhaustive, but there are some test runner commands like this for VS Code as well. And maybe for Vim. Michael, you do this?
Yeah, I'm using I think it's Vim test is the package, and it supports in a pluggable way all kinds of different languages and test runners and things like that. So it had support for PHP Unit. I actually added the support for Pest when Pest first came out because I wanted to use
this
Pest
guy.
and I wanted to
Nice.
to have that functionality. So yeah, definitely, either you can explicitly tag your test methods with only or skip or whatever else, or you can use the functionality that runs those individual tests in your editor of choice. There's support in most of them now, as far as I know.
Yep. Awesome stuff.
But,
okay, my friend, on to the last one. I'm going to give it to you.
Yeah, the last one here is a tutorial from Harish Kumar, which talks about adding real-time chat to Laravel using Reverb and Vue. If you don't know what Reverb is at this point, Reverb acts as a mediator between your Laravel-based applications and its users, and it does this by establishing a two-way real-time communication based on WebSockets technology that allows web pages to receive updates on the server without a complete page refresh, which means that your users experience your application more dynamically and responsively. This is a first-party package that was built by the Laravel team, and I know that Joe Dixon put a lot of time into it. But this tutorial in particular talks about, obviously what Laravel Reverb is, how to add it to your project, but also how to run the Reverb server, how to set up your database, and how to create all of the functionality you need to build this real-time chat. I think when it comes to WebSockets and things like that, real-time chat is kind of the primary thing that comes up in terms of like what would you use this for. So definitely check it out if you want to get a feel for all of the different touch points and how you might implement this in a Vue application. We'll have links, of course, to the source code for the package and the tutorial itself up on the show notes. Thank you very much to Harish for putting that together.
Well, folks, that is it. This is episode 218. Thanks so much for coming and hanging out with us. You can find show notes for this episode at podcast.laravel-news.com/218. If you'd like to chat with us about the show, any questions or comments would be appreciated on Twitter at Jacob Bennett, at Michael Dorindo, or at Laravel News. And we would also really appreciate it if you'd rate us up in your podcatcher of choice. 5 stars would be incredible and amazing and awesome. Well, folks, till next time, stay warm if you're down in Aussie land, and stay cool if you're up in non-Aussie land in the Northern Hemisphere. And happy 4th of July to all you Americans out there. We'll see you folks in 2 weeks.
Bye.